dulu. Waalaikumsalam. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Well, your voice little bit interrupted. I'm not sure if the internet connection on your side quite well. Just in case, could you please try once again? Yeah, to check your voice. Previously
yeah. Could you hear my voice clearly?
Oh yeah, no, very great, excellent. As well as we can receive both video from Bu Galuh and Bu Heli. Yeah, it's very clear here. Thank you, Bu Heli.
Yeah, thank you, Bu.
Yeah. So good morning, everyone. Welcome back to our session. So today is the 8th, I guess, 8th sessions of our Pitua Summer School program. How was your project? Yeah, I'm very glad to follow your discussion on the WhatsApp group as well as in the Google Classroom. So you show really great effort to fulfill your final projects. Don't miss it the schedule for your final presentation. So we wish you great luck for your final project, and very looking forward to see your presentation later within the group on our final project. Still, I guess you have enough time to discuss, to prepare your video or your final project completely, perfectly before the submission. And a very good morning to all participants who just joined with us today. So just for your information, so today we will move again to the other another topic. Is also, I guess, one of the typical craft that we have in our country. We have the leather crafts, and especially here we pointed in a city located in West Java. Actually Garut is my hometown. I born there. So I really had a great time when I was in the childhood, until I graduated from high school in Garut. So later on we will bring you, we just imagine if we are really in the normal situation, we will bring you through this spiritual summer school program, to this summer school program to Garut City, to see directly the process. But unfortunately, we have the social distancing. But anyway, we still find the way, how you can be exposed, to the situation in the letter processing in Garut. Many typical crafts been produced there, and through our video as well as the presentation from our great speaker today, hopefully we can have a great time and also fruitful discussion, regarding to the letter processing. So since the time's now already 10 AM, let we start the session. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And again, very good morning to all of you. Thank you so much for your great attendance for today, and also thank you very much to our beloved speaker, the speaker today, Bu Galuh, Dr. Galuh Yuliani, and also Dr. Heli Siti Halimatul Munawaroh. Both speaker actually our colleges here in chemistry department of Indonesia University of Education. So before we starting the presentations, I would like to briefly introduce the speaker for today's session. So firstly, I will start from information of Dr. Galuh Yuliani. So Dr. Galuh Yuliani obtained a bachelor degree in chemistry from ITB, Bandung Institute of Technology. Yeah, bachelor and master degree. And she got or she received the PhD degree in chemistry from Monash University, Australia. She's actually one of very active, very very productive lecturer and researcher in our department, as we can represent here. She has really great experiences, to receive several grants and also honor from national as well as international associations. Here we listed several grants and honor that been received by her. The travel grant from Boost program, regarding to the soft skill trainer institute in Chiang Mai, Thailand. And this program, I guess, supported by American Chemical Society. And also she received a national, award, from our government. We call it as Lencana Karya Satya 10 years, effort, as the government employer in our university. And here is the several series of her publications. Mainly she has a great focus on material science. Specifically she worked with the coal chemistry, and also some innovations on removal some pollutants, come from many processes with the developed material that she been concerned within her research group here. If you follow Google Scholar or Scopus profile, you can see actually more than this one, for his publication. So, and also she really active, join with many scientific communities and also scientific activities regarding to the conferences in the international section as well as the national section. So I've been many times, gathering with her at the same conference. So it was great, always I learned a lot from her, how to keep great effort on doing research as well as publications. And then next we move to our second speaker, Dr. Heli Siti Halimatul Munawaro. Actually, she has really great nickname, Ibu Heli SHM. We always call, since her name's quite long, so sometimes we miss spelling, her name. Bu Heli actually my junior. We have 1 year different, so I've been knowing her very well, I guess, since we were in the bachelor program, So she graduated from chemistry education program from UPI, the same with my experiences. And then she earned a master degree in chemistry from Bandung Institute of Technology. So I just miss it for the information. Bu Galuh has the specialty in physical chemistry and material science, while Bu Heli Siti Halimatul, deeply concerned with biochemistry and bioscience, And she got a PhD in chemistry, especially bioscience, from Shizuoka University, Japan. And again, it's very, honor for me to introduce her. She also has very great effort, as the invited speaker, and also been involved in many scientific community, she been has great experiences as the invited speaker, in the Inter-Academia Asia. It was conducted, in Shizuoka University, she presented as the invited speaker on the biodiesel production, up to now, I guess, from her PhD project, she is still concerned with the biodiesel, research, especially for biofuel applications and also other applications, And also she been invited, as the visiting researcher in Shizuoka University, especially on Research Center for Electronic Institute, regarding to the special project on biofuel production. And as well, how to say, Bu Heli also really has how to say great publications. Yeah, this is just several publication that we've been capture here. Yeah, he works a lot. She works a lot on how to say bioscience field. Yeah, regarding to the how to say fatty acid research. Yeah, on the enzyme research. Yeah, as well as some work related to the many maybe how to say amino acid. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. You can also refer her publication, yeah, completely in her Google Scholar, yeah, or Scopus profile. And then still any other information? Okay, so that's I guess our brief informations about our invited speaker. Hopefully later Bu Galo and Bu Heli can add some crucial information if we miss, yeah, in our introduction. So again, before we start the presentation from both speaker, we already prepared the video as introductions to our topic. Hopefully you like it. Please enjoy. All right, so that's all the video. Hopefully, give you the how to say motivation, yeah, to involve for today topics. So without any further ado, now I guess we can move to the main session for lecture that will be delivered by our board speaker. So Bu Galuh and Bu Heli, time is yours.
Thank you so much, Ibu Dr. Fitri Hairunisa. So, hello to everyone. Good morning. So, this is the eighth virtual summer class that is hosted by Department of Chemistry Education, Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. And as has been mentioned by Ibu Dr. Fitri, that I'm actually part of the chemistry education department. So I'm very, very proud to be here. I'm very happy to meet all of you, all of the participants of this virtual summer class. Actually, I've been attending almost all of the 7 sessions of the previous virtual summers class, and I enjoy all of the session. I think it's great, it's wonderful. We can have lots of different insight, new knowledge about different traditional craft, especially from Indonesia. And I enjoy all of the class, so I hope that you also can enjoy today's session. Okay, now I will try to share my screen first. So can you all see the screen?
Excellent, Bu Galuh, very clear.
Okay, so I will just slideshow so you can have a bigger picture. Yes, okay. So yeah, this is the 8th virtual summer school, and the title is about the leather processing industry. Okay, for the first slide, I want to show you the list of the top leather producing countries in the world. Okay, as we can see, we have the top one is actually China, and then we have Brazil, Italy, Korea, India, Argentina, USA, Mexico, Spain, and Thailand. Okay, so actually in the whole top 10 list, if we find the one from Asian, we can find 4, which is the China, Korea, India, and then Thailand. Okay, but Indonesia is actually not here. But it's actually Indonesia actually one of the exporter of leather, and Indonesia even exports some of the leather products to countries that listed in this top 10. Yeah, so for example, Indonesia actually exports some of the leather products to China, and then to Korea, to USA, and even to where is again? Oh, okay, it's not listed here. Sorry, Indonesia export some of the leather to China, to Korea, to USA as well. So, and if you see the data, this is actually the table here. So the data from 2000 until 2008. But the current data that I got from the 2019, China is the top producer with 2,364.7 million square feet leather products. And then USA having 669.1 million square feet of leather products. Okay. Okay, so Indonesia actually one of the exporter of leather and export some of the leather products to some of the countries that name as the top producers of leather. And we do have some regulation in place in terms of exporting the leather and leather products. So this data, actually, I got this data from a report released by the Ministry of Trade in 2018. So this is a quite current data. In this report, the title is Indonesia Leather Industry, and this is named as one of the national outstanding sector. And if we have some leather products, which is only the fabrics, for example, the leather fabrics, and then we import it to overseas, we export it to overseas, then the price will be quite low. But if we process it in locally, and then producing some of the end products, for example, bags or shoes, and then export it as the end products, the price can be higher. Okay, and additionally, as a good impact of that, some of the labor can be attracted to this industry, such as the shoe industry, the bag industry. So that is actually one policy of the government. The government commitment is to boost the national by limiting the raw and semi-finished leather commodities, and is comprehensively stated in the National Industrial Development Master Plan. So our Ministry of Trade, actually the government actually has this Rencana Induk Pembangunan Industri Nasional, that leather industry actually listed as one of the industry that has been the focus of the government. And the regulation include the raising of the custom tariff since 2016. So this limit the export of the semi-finished leather. And additionally, the government also gives some incentive for those industry who can export the leather as end products, such as shoe or bags. And also, Indonesia has named this leather industry as the big industrial sector. And based of the data released by the Statistik Indonesia, which is the Badan Pusat Statistik Indonesia in August 2018, it is reported that the contribution of Indonesia's national gross domestic products from leather industry actually reached 27 to 28% from 2014 to 2017. So it has become consistent in this number. So this means that this industry is one of the industry that is the big industry that has big contribution to the national gross domestic products. Additionally, in terms of number of employment, this industry employs many people. In 2016, it employed 32,900 people. And then in 2017, increased to 33,574 people. And then to 2008, it also increased. So the trend of the employment by this leather industry, national leather industry, is actually also increase. So that means this is one of the important industry in our country. It has contributed to the GDP and also has contribution to the employment. Okay, so I mentioned before about Indonesia as one of the exporters of the leather products. So this is actually the list of countries that is the main destination for Indonesia's leather product. And this is the United States as one of the biggest one, and then the Netherlands, China, Belgium, Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, Singapore, Germany, and Vietnam. Okay, so yeah, as we can see, China is listed as #1 top leather producer, but is also accepting leathers from Indonesia, and also Korea is also listed, and then United States is also listed. So in 2017, it was reported that the export value of leather products from Indonesia to global market has been recorded to reach 546 million US dollar. And then in 2017 is actually lower. So there is an increase in terms of the export value. From 2016 is only 461.03 million US dollar. Okay, so in terms of raw material that has been utilized in the national leather industry, we utilize mostly cows and buffalo hide. This is the top material, but in some region, such as in the Garut region, they have this popular of the sheep, Garut, Domba Garut, sheep of originated from the Garut regions. So in that particular area, the sheep and also the goats is also one of the main material, raw material for leather. So in terms of the products that has been reported to be the main products of leather from Indonesian area, we do have the container bags, shoes, and handbags, boxes, cases, and mittens, and other mitts for the sport activities use. So yeah, this is the data from January to September 2018. Okay, now let's go to the definition first. I actually got the first definition here from the internet. So it's like a Google definition. It's very basic one, but I think this is still quite important to give you an insight about what leather actually is. Leather is defined as an incredible material that has been used throughout the history for clothing and tools. And the history of leather has begun at about 400,000 years ago in England. And its evolution can be traced around the world. And it is traced in the Stone Age, in the Bronze Age, Iron Age, Ancient Time, Middle Ages, Renaissance, Industrial Revolution, even into modern times. Okay, so if, for example, we want to find an artifact, okay, originated from the Bronze Age, then actually you can find some artifacts made of leather. And you can also even find it, the artifact coming from the Stone Age, and this is made of leather. So this is a picture of how leather is actually a very old material that has been utilized by humans since long time ago. Okay, and this is, I have one other definition. This is the textbook definition, a more formal one. So leather is actually defined as the natural protein polymer. So it is actually natural protein polymer treated with tanning agents to make it resistant to enzymatic attack and to improve its physical properties. Okay, so yeah, so leather is basically protein polymer that is processed using some tanning agents so that the end product or the resulted product is resistant to enzymatic attack, to bacteria, resistant to heat, resistant to weather, and other things, and also have this flexibility of the products. And then if we see the conversion of skin to leather, there are actually lots of operations going on. So if we calculate the number of operations, it can be up to 50 different operations. So it's not an easy task to convert skin into leather. And then we probably wondering why in some area, the leather can be very expensive, but in other area, we can find like a leather handbags with the price tag of, for example, 5,000 US dollar. But we can also find other leather handbag with the price tag of just $50, for example. So this has like a very high discrepancy between the high-end products and then the lower-end products. So what makes this discrepancy is so obvious? Well, actually, the one part that determines the quality of the leather is the quality control. The leather processing needs careful and meticulous control during processing to obtain acceptable quality, acceptable performance determined by the fashion industry. Okay, now let's see the raw materials for leather. There are actually two materials that can be used as the raw material, is the skins and the hides. Okay, some of us probably think that it's actually the same thing, skin and hides. But actually there is a definition, differentiate between the skin and the hides. The skin is actually the outer covering of small animal like sheep, goat, or swine, or pig, yeah? And then hide is actually the outer covering of bigger animal, such as cow and buffalo. Okay, so this terminology is actually referred to the animal that this skin originated from. So if it is from the smaller animal, we call it skin. If it is from the bigger animal, like cow and buffalo, we call it hide. Okay, so depending on the source, the raw material can be a variety in size, in shape, in substance, and structural characteristic. Okay, and then if we see the composition of the skin, of the raw skin, then it has 60% of water, 35% of proteins, and this includes the fibrous as well as the non-fibrous protein. And then we have lipids, we have carbohydrates, and also mineral salts. Okay, among these many components that make up skin, actually the fibrous protein collagen is the main component of leather. Okay, so in the process of the leather processing, other components other than the skin, the fibrous protein collagen must be removed. Okay, so that's why there are many stages required for this process. So what actually happened during the tanning, the tanning of the skin? Well, the skin actually brought into a condition by suitable process that it can eventually resulting in a material that can resist bacterial, thermal, chemical, and hydrolytic influences. Okay, once it has become leather, this new material, then it can be utilized as different applications, in various applications. Okay, it can be like durable bag, it can be like durable shoes and so on, or durable sofa and so on. Okay, now let's go to the chemistry of the leather. So I know that some of you might not have the chemistry background. I'm not sure because I just know previously from Bu Fitri that she mentioned that probably some of you doesn't have the chemistry background, but I'm sure that I will try to simplify the chemistry of the leather so that all of you can still follow my explanations. Okay, so let's see what happened with the skin or a hide of the animal when the animal is still alive. Okay, we know that the living animal, the skin of the living animal is soft. It is flexible, it is very tough, hard wearing, and it is semi-permeable. Okay, what is semi-permeable? Semi-permeable means that it can actually let out some moisture vapor from inside to out, but it cannot do the other way around. Okay, so moisture cannot penetrate to the inside of the skin. So this is all the quality, all the specialty of the skin of the living animal. Okay, but once the animal is dead, the characteristic change drastically. Okay, so if the animal is dead and you take off the skin from the animal, actually, if you just keep it just is in the moist condition, then it will soon deteriorate and become rotting. Okay, but if you, for example, try to dry it completely, then it will become very hard and brittle. Okay, so yeah, it's not an option. If you have the dead skin, the animal, the skin of the dead animal, and you just want to use it directly, then it won't be good for you because it will soon rot if it is still wet. But if you dry it completely, it will be brittle and hard. Okay, so that is why people trying to find a way how to preserve, okay, the characteristic, the good characteristic of the living animal skin. And this is conducted by the tanning process. Yeah, so the tanning process is actually a process to stabilize the skin structure so that it can retain its natural properties. And after chemically process this skin, it will, after that, no longer subject to purification. So it will resist, it will be resistant to bacterial, to thermal, and to other weather conditions. So this is why we need the tanning process. And what happened during tanning? Actually, we do some chemical reaction. The tanning is actually essentially the reaction of collagen fibers the collagen fibers, the component of leather here, of the skin or the hide with the tannins agent. Okay, so depending on what method employed by the industry, by the tannery, it can be chromium, it can be alum, it can be other chemical agents. So what does people in the old time do? What did people in the old time do to process this skin or hide of the animal? They do the traditional tanning. In the traditional tanning, they use the tannins. Okay, so this is actually the parts of the name tanning. They use the tannins. What is tannin? Tannins is the bitter plant polyphenolic compounds that bind to and precipitate proteins and various other organic compounds, including amino acids and alkaloids. Okay, so that is tannins. It's polyphenolic compounds. And then the end product is leather. Leather is a new material here, have durability, have flexibility, and have uses as the starting material for different products or of upholstery products. Okay, now let's see a little bit, about traditional tanning, because currently the tannery doesn't use this process. Some might still using it, and some of the process has been modified to make it more environmentally friendly. But the traditional tanning, why traditional tanning is no longer utilized in many industry, it is because the longer time period that is required for the tanning process from the skin to leather. So people try to find another method, and there is the chromium tanning as the option that has been adopted by many tanneries around the world. Okay, so the traditional tanning, they use compounds called the polyphenolic compounds, and these compounds contain sufficient amounts of hydroxyl groups. This is the hydroxyl groups, and also the carboxyls group. So these are the carboxyls groups. So these functional groups can form a strong complexes with protein and other macromolecules, and thus it alter the properties of the fibrous protein. So now let's see what happened in the modern tannery. The modern tannery. So there are many stages. As I mentioned to you, there's around 20 to 50 different operations in the tannery, but we can actually classify this operation into three main operations. The first operation is the beam house, or it is also called the pre-tanning operations. In the pre-tanning operation, the aim is to remove unwanted materials such as the hair, the flesh, and other proteinous materials, and also to condition the skin suitable for the tanning process. And then the second operation is the tanning, which is the core operation of the tannery. This is to convert the skins and hide into semi-finished leather and to impart some resistance towards bacterial degradations. And the last operation is the post-tanning operation. This operation introduces color to the semi-finished leathers and also some other quality that is required by the fashion industry. Okay, so three operations, okay, because it is a lecture, so I think it's okay for you to take some notes. We have three main operations here, the beam house or pre-tanning operation, we have the tanning operations, and then the post-tanning operations. Okay, now let's go. I will go to each of these operations, and there will be more chemistry involved, but I think we can discuss this, okay? So the first one is the pre-tanning operations. Okay, there are actually at least 6 different processes in the pre-tanning operations. Okay, so first of all, people try to do the tanning of the skin is because they want to make use of the wasted material. Okay, the human consumption of meat is very high, right? So there are lots of meat processing industry in any countries. If it is like a big country like Indonesia, then the meat processing industry are even more than in other countries that has the smaller number of citizens. Okay, so yeah, there's lots of meat producing countries. We eat the meat, but I don't think we eat the skin or the feathers, right? We don't eat the skin. So there's many wasted skins. And this is why the meat processing industry and then people since the old time trying to make benefit of the skin as the wasted material, as a byproduct of the meat processing industry. So when it is produced by the meat processing industry, it's not actually directly transported to the tannery. Okay, so most of the time the meat processing industry we just store the skin first, and then after it being it has lots of them, then probably it can be transported to the tannery for leather processing. So during the storage, actually, it is important stage in the tannery. Why? Because the storage, remember that if it is just kept dry, if it is just kept moist, then it will be rot. If it is dry, then it will be hard and brittle. So that is why the meat processing industry usually preserve the skin, store the skin properly before it is transported to the tannery. Why they do? Some of them can have the cold storage, but the cold storage is regarded as expensive because not of this industry have the cold storage with the very big size. So some of them actually do the salting process. Okay, so they actually mix the skin with salts, and this will release the skin will release some of the water because this is the salting out effect. So some of the water will be released, and that makes the skin to be a little bit dry, but not too dry. Okay, but it's drier than it is previously. So in this condition, it can be stored longer. Okay, it can be stored longer, and then it can be later on transported to the tannery. But once it's arrived in the tannery, the salt is actually need to be removed first. So that is why the first stage in the tannery is the soaking part. So soaking, the objective of the soaking part is actually to remove the salt, to rehydrate the skin and the hide, and to restore their original conditions. The second one is liming. Liming is the unhairing stage. We remove the hair and the flesh from the skin, and this is conducted using chemicals, which is lime and sodium sulfide. After that, deliming. Deliming, because in the liming, the pH can be very high. The next stage is deliming to reduce the pH to about 8 to 8.5. And then the baiting part, we use some enzymes, and I think Dr. Helly will explain more about the baiting part, the enzymatic part of this unhairing process. And the baiting is actually to purify the fells by removing the unwanted components consisting of the proteinous products, epidermis, short hair, and the scud. And then the next stage is pickling. Okay, remember that we reduce the pH to 8, but then we need to reduce again to even lower pH, 2.5 until 3. This pH is crucial to prepare the skin for tanning, the tanning operation. So the tanning operation required low pH. So that's why the pickling process is important here. And then for the liming and baiting and pickling, actually the resulting skin will be quite slippery because there is lots of grease from the carbohydrate, the fats of the skins. So this also needs to be removed. So that's why there is the degreasing process to remove the grease. Okay, next slide, I actually have some picture for you to have some better view about processes in the pre-tanning operation. This is the soaking part. The soaking is to restore the skin to the original condition before preservation. Usually, the industry use the surfactants and enzyme preparation to help the soaking part and to clean the skin from dirt, manure, and blood. And then liming here, In the liming, they use this kind of drums. So the hide is actually soaked in liming drums, which contain solution made of lime and sulfur compounds. The lime is an alkali. This is particularly important because alkali can break down the structure of the hair at its weakest point, which is the root, and so that it can the hair removal can be conducted. And in this process, actually, this altered the properties of the skin, especially the collagen of the skin. And the collagen becoming chemically modified and swell. So it has a more open structure. And this is needed because to penetrate some of the chemicals in the tanning process, we need the structure of the skin to be open. And then, yeah, this is the splitting. I will have some slides especially for splitting because it is some interesting process in the splitting. So what is the splitting? Splitting actually the cutting part, the cutting the skin in the horizontal manner. Okay, so the skin, initially we have one layer of skin. And then in the splitting, we actually cut it in the horizontal style so we can have like more layers. We can have 2 or 3 layers then. Okay, so in this process, actually the skin produced is not very thick, it can be a little bit thin because some of the application require thinner leather. Okay, so the splitting part is important. However, when the skin is actually splitted, the quality of the skin is actually different between the top layer and the bottom layer. Okay, the top layer has better quality, while the bottom layer has the lower quality. That's why the top layer has more expensive price, and the bottom layer, which is also called the split or suede, it is also is actually lower in price. Yeah, so yeah, before go to the splitting part, actually, I want to talk a little bit about the chemistry in the tanning process. So I mentioned to you before about the roles of alkali. Alkali is used, the lime or alkali is used in the liming. So the skin collagen is usually associated with the keratin. Keratin is the protein in hair, in wool, and nails. Keratin is a fibrous protein with the polypeptide chains linked together by a cysteine linkage. What is cysteine linkage? You can see here, this is the cysteine linkage. It is actually the sulfur linkage in cysteine, and this particular bonding is quite weak. Yeah, and this is susceptible to action of alkali, and it can break down easily in the presence of alkali. So this made the collagen to release the hair. So this is the unhairing process can take place. Okay, and after soaking it for a longer period of time in the alkali solution, then the hair roots dissolve, the hair can be removed, and the structure of the skin can be more open to chemicals that is used later in the tanning process. Okay, yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'm talking about the splitting. This is interesting because yeah, when we buy the leather products, actually we just try to find this sign, okay? When we say genuine leather, then we will be happy, we can pay the price and we brought it home. But what we don't know, actually genuine leather doesn't really say much about the quality of the leather, okay? If they say genuine leather, actually, they just say that it is made of leather, real leather, but they don't say which part. It can be the top layer, or it can be the bottom layer or the split. Yeah, so the genuine leather doesn't really inform you which part of the leather that's actually the product's made of. Okay, so if we see this skin cross section of the skin, then we have the grain, which is the top part here. Okay, and then we also have the corium here, which is the fibrous protein, and then we have the flesh is here. Okay, so the genuine leather is actually pointed up the whole part of the skin. Okay, but the full grain or the top quality one is actually this part. And then the bottom part next to this flash is actually the split leather. Okay, so the split leather is from this area to this. Okay, in terms of the end product characteristic, it's actually quite different. Like the grain leather, for example, this is both of them are actually hand gloves, but we can see the difference in the quality. This one made of the grain leather. This is smooth, it's very smooth, it's pliable, it's long wearing, and then it's cut from the hair side, which is this side. And this one made of the split leather. It is, yeah, it's still tough, but it has thicker suede layer cut, which is the bottom part. Okay, and in terms of price, actually this one will cost more expensive than this one. Okay, so if you see the finished leather, you can actually still can see the layers of the skin. This is the genuine leather. It's the whole part of the leather. We can actually still see this is the top grain, and this is the corium part of the grain. Yeah, so the top grain is the more expensive one with more durability, and then the corium or the suede or the split leather is actually this part. Okay, so actually the full grain usually thicker, but the top grain is usually thinner. Okay. What is the process employed by the industry for the purposes of splitting the leather? Actually, they do this kind of process. So this is the cowhide, for example, running in the rolling of the metal. And then in the other side, we have the very sharp knife. In this side, split the leather into several layers. Okay, this is the top cut, the top grain, and this is the bottom cut, which is the split leather. Okay, well, actually, I have a good story about this split leather. In Indonesia, if you go to the area that produce leather, for example, Garut, or in other West Java part, Cianjur also have actually some leather industry there. So if you go to this area, actually you can find a very popular snack. Yeah, the popular snack called the kerupuk kulit. Okay, kerupuk kulit is a very popular snack in each of the area that has the leather, the tanneries in that area. Well, what is kerupuk kulit? Kerupuk kulit is actually the split part of the leather. Okay, so and then the will be different high-end products, but the split sometimes can be the ingredients for this popular snack in Indonesia. Okay, this snack is very popular. You can just eat it directly, or you can even cook it into traditional food like krecek. You can even put in your noodles, soup noodles, and it tastes very good. Okay, but if you see the process in the tannery, it's a little bit a no-no because the process involves some chemicals. Actually, sometimes we can still buy it because the taste is so good. So this is the kerupuk kulit, and you can find it almost all in the cities in Indonesia that has the tannery. Okay, now let's go to the second operation. Now is the tanning process. So the tanning process, this is probably the most complex step. And during the tanning, the skin structure is stabilized in its open form by replacing some of the collagen with the complex ion of chromium. Okay, and then this process, depending on the compounds used in the process, the color and the texture of the leather will change after the tanning process. And when the leather has been tanned, and it's become leather, then it is will able to breathe. The structure will be able to breathe. It can withstand the high temperature, and it can be more flexible than the untreated skin. Okay, there are two processes that still used in some industry, but I mentioned to you before that vegetable tanning is not very popular due to the longer period of time needed for the tanning process. And the other process is the chrome tanning. You can actually see if the certain tannery use the chrome tanning by the big drums like this, the wooden drums. This is actually typical of the chrome tanning operations. and also you can also find from the material, the chemical used is actually the basic chromium sulfate. Okay, so now let's discuss more about the chrome tanning. So the operation in the chrome tanning involving 3 stages. The first one is the lowering the pH. Remember that the end of the pre-tanning operation is actually the pickling, which is reducing the pH to 2 to 3 pH. It's very low pH. So yeah, the tanning process needed that kind of pH for the process. At this low pH, the chromium is in the right size so that it can penetrate to the structure, the fibrous structure of the skin. And then after it can penetrate, the next process is actually raising the pH. Yeah, the next step is raising the pH because the raising of the pH is important. After the chromium penetrate, we need to raise the pH because in this process, some of the carboxyl groups of the fibrous protein will be liberated, and this will leave empty space, empty spots for the chromium to go slip into the structure of the collagen and form what we call the chromium complex with the protein. Okay. And after the chromium is fixed within the structure of the fibrous protein, then the temperature can be raised. This is to further fix the chrome to the structure. Okay, yeah, so the process is 3. First, the low pH, and then increasing the pH, and then the last part is the raising the temperature part. This is for the chrome tanning. Okay, let's see more about the chemistry here. So I mentioned before that the types of chromium ions used in the tannery is actually the chromium sulfate. Okay, the chromium sulfate is a trivalent chromium. The chromium sulfate is particularly suitable for this operation because of this complex. This is kind of bridge that can be involved in the tanning process, and this is required for the operation. So this can be done when the chromium is interacted with the sulfate anion. Okay. And then the pH, I mentioned to you about the importance of the pH. So the first pH is the low pH as the important one, because as this pH, the size of the chromium is actually suitable to be penetrated in the fibrous protein. This is actually roughly 2 to 4 chromium nuclei, okay, attached together. So the size is fits for the penetration. But if we use lower pH, then the chromium will be small. And this small chromium, it can penetrate, but it cannot bridge the bonding, the complex bond. So it is not very useful. But if we increase the pH, and this increased pH, actually the chromium will be too big. It will be semicolloidal. And this semicolloidal chromium cannot even penetrate. Yeah, so this size of chromium, 2 to 4 chromium nuclei, is actually achieved in pH ranges from 3 to 3.4. And then the next step is the complexing or masking, and this is required some complexing and masking agents. The industry can use between sulfate, formate, acetate, phthalate, sulfite, and decarboxylic acid. It's actually depending on what is the required end products. Okay, for example, if they use the acetate masking, then the reaction will be like this. This is the chromium masked by acetate as the ligand, and then react with the protein here, and then it will slip into the structure because the process includes the liberation of these carboxyls. The carboxyl is liberated when the pH is increased, and this liberation of protein can create some spots for the chromium to slip into the structure. So this is the end product, which is called the chromium collagen compound. Okay, so this is actually the leather. Yeah. Okay, the last part of the operation is the post-tanning operation. It has some processes such as the neutralizing, dyeing, and fat liquoring. Yeah, neutralizing is required because the pH can be quite low, so that's why the excess acid needs to be neutralized. And then the also important part is the dye, because we want our leather to be colorful. So that's why the dyeing is important in this stage. And then we also want the leather to be soft and flexible, and it has a nice feel. So that's why the fat liquor is also added in this process. This is a kind of oil that's added into the process, into the chamber, and it can soften the fibers and make it more soft and flexible. And then the finishing can be embossing the surface of the leather, and other application and other needs that determined by the fashion industry for the aesthetic purposes. Okay, so the dye, actually there's many dyes that has been reported for the application for leather. Actually, the popular one is the acid dye, the direct dyes, and also the metal complex dyes. And also the reactive dyes, but it's not too much, yeah? So acid, direct, and metal complex dyes. So this is some structure of the dye. Some of the dye actually have been banned, like benzidine derivatives is mentioned to be carcinogenic, so it is actually banned in some of the leather industry. And also this is some structure of the dye, the possible structure of the dyes, and the dyes actually will be intact to the chromium side, because the chromium sides of the structure is actually the one that is susceptible to dye. Okay, so this is the reactive sides for the dyeing part. Okay, so now there's a lot of products that can be resulted from this tannery. Actually, some of the survey mentioned that the most product of the leather actually used as footwear. About 50% of the leathers actually utilized in the shoe factory, and then 20% in the clothing, 17% in the upholstery, such as sofa or the cover seat for the car, and then 13% for other applications. Okay, so in case this pandemic will soon be over, and I know that all of us really miss to travel to different places. I used to travel to some of the neighboring country like Malaysia or Thailand almost every year. So I really miss that. Actually, we traveled to Penang in the beginning of this year, and I really enjoy my time there. So in case there are some time for us to do the traveling again, and you are interested in going to Indonesia, then you want also to buy some beautiful craft of leather with high quality and cheaper price, then you can probably consider these places. In Garut, which is in West Java, just nearby this UP is in Bandung, but the Garut is actually about, I don't know how many kilometers, but it's just like 2 hours ride from Bandung. So to Garut area. And then there are specific area there, which is the Sukaregang, that has many leather crops. And then if you go to Yogyakarta, the central Java, then some area located in Bantu Regency also has many craft products made of leather. And then in the eastern part of Java, Sidoarjo and Magetan also popular for the leather products. So there's many to choose. And if you cannot travel to Indonesia yet, you can still browse some of our beautiful, beautiful craft made of leather from Indonesia. The Papillon one is a very popular brand. It is actually in the Bandung area. So you can go to the Papillon shop if you go to Bandung, and they have a very good quality leather and the good design as well. And this is from Yogyakarta, combining the leather with some woven rajutan, yeah, rajutan. So some of the part is actually made of leather, and some other parts is actually from kain rajut. And then this is also popular in Yogyakarta, this brand Abekani, and also some other brand. This one is so popular in Yogyakarta. We also combine some of the material, so the resulting can be a very beautiful piece of bag. Yeah, it has some anyaman and also some batik, and combined with leather, and yeah, wallets and all other products. If you are a man and you don't want this kind of bags, you can also choose the shoes. We have many different shoes, national brand, Indonesian brand, made 100% of leather, except for the sole, of course. And this is the popular brand. We have the Brodo brand and other brand. They have made a very high quality shoe. And it is the Brodo one is actually in Bandung area. My husband have some pair of this one and he enjoyed it so much. So you can actually find this in Bandung, Brodo brand. Okay, so in Garut area, because we mentioned that Garut is one of the central for leather in West Java area, here is Bandung. So this is where I am right now in Bandung. Garut is actually south here. And if you see the Garut map, actually there's many spots that has some leather products that can be sold as an end products. Okay, so in terms of production costs, actually the main production cost of the leather processing is actually for the raw material. So the raw material is actually 50 to 70% of the cost. Okay, the next cost will be labor. Labor is about 7 to 15%. And the other cost is chemical. So although we use lots of chemical, actually it's just 10% of the whole production cost. And energy, electricity is actually quite low. So the main focus is the raw material. And I know that raw material is not so easy to get. Even in Indonesia, which has so many meat processing industry, the skin or the hide of the animal is actually not that much compared to the number of tannery that we have. So actually some tannery actually import some of the skin or hide from other countries, especially USA. I know that one big industry tannery in one area in Cianjur, they actually imported the raw material, which is the hide of the buffalo, has a very big size and high quality from USA. Yeah, so that is why the raw material actually one important cost in terms of the leather processing. Okay, now in terms of consumption of chemicals, well, the chemical itself actually divided into two, which is the bulk chemicals and then the performance chemical. The bulk chemical refer to the chemical that is widely used in many industries. So it is not specific to tannery. Chemical like sodium chloride, the lime, and so on is actually the general chemicals utilized in many different industries. This is called the bulk. And then the performance material, which is the material that's specified for this industry, such as the tanning materials, fat liquors, the retanning finishing agent. This is the performance material that is specifically required by tanneries. Okay, now we go to the not so exciting part. Yeah, because I show you the graph, right, about the top producers producing leathers in the world. Well, actually, the history of leather is originated from England. And some of the European countries. But if you see the top producer, the European countries like England is not even in the list. What really happened that probably because we see that this process actually like labor intensive, so that's why the area where the tannery can be developed is actually looking for the cheaper labor. So that's why it is actually some of the Asian countries has becoming the leading countries. The Asian and the Southeast Asian countries has becoming the leading now in terms of the leather production because of the cheap labor. Additionally, the one other factor that also contributes to the development of this leather industry, which is the regulation imposed by the government, especially in terms of the waste management. Okay, because the leather industry, some call it quite dirty in terms of the number of chemicals that can be released to the environment. Okay, so if we see the input and the output of the products, then actually the waste can be classified into the one that pollute the air, and then the waste that pollutes the wastewater, the water, or the body of water. And then the third one is the waste that is said to be a solid one, the solid waste that can probably pollute the soil. Okay, in terms of the air pollution, this is originally or mainly comes from the organic solvent that is used. Remember, in the process we use sulfide, and sulfide can create this very famous gas, hydrogen sulfide. Okay, so this is very unpleasant smell. So that's why it's one of the pollutant. And then for the wastewater, there's actually lots of specification of the wastewater of this leather industry. We have the high COD, high BOD, high suspended solid, and then of course the high chrome concentration, and then sulfide as well as in the dissolved form. And then for solid, there are also lots of materials coming from the fleshing, some of the meat, the trimmings, parts of the splits, and lots of different types of solid waste. Okay, now there are many research has been focused on how to overcome these problems created by the wastewater originating from leather processing industry. As we know, the chromium is probably one of the biggest challenge here. Actually, the process in the tannery used the trivalent chromium. Okay, the trivalent chromium is actually not carcinogenic, so it's not as awful as the hexavalent chromium. However, when it is discarded in the process and it's go to the body of water, then it can actually have some oxidation reaction, so that it can eventually lead to the production of the hexavalent chromium. Okay, so the presence of hexavalent chromium in leather and leather products is actually a great concern for all of us. And also we know that hexavalent chromium is bioaccumulating, it is highly toxic, it is mutagenic, and is also carcinogenic to human. But actually there is one possible solution for this. One solution is to reuse the chrome. So the chrome is not discarded to the environment, instead it is reused in the process. So what we can do that is actually we can do the alkaline process to the tanning liquor. So if we make the tanning liquor alkaline, then the chromium will be converted to chromium hydroxide. This is when alkaline. And the chromium hydroxide can precipitate. Okay, so we can take the precipitates. And then the chromium hydroxide, if later on we want to use it again as the tanning agent, then we can just acidify it. We can just acidify this chromium hydroxide, and it will form chromium sulfate, which is the active ingredient for the tanning process. Okay, the next problem is the sulfide. This is the other problem I mentioned to you about the unpleasant odor from the sulfide. And this actually can also be, we can also find a solution for this one, is by oxidation. So this is the species of the sulfide that cause unpleasant odor. And then we can oxidize in the presence of a manganese sulfate, and then it will form the three different oxidizable form of sulfur, like colloidal sulfur, the thiosulfate, and then sulfate, and this doesn't have that awful smell. So this is also one of the solutions that can be adopted by the leather industry. Okay, so that is the last of my presentation. So I will just go to Bu Fitri again to proceed with what's next after this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ugalo. Very interesting. You deliver very detailed and comprehensive lectures. As we follow her presentations, she introduced to us what kind of the type of raw material, yeah, that can be used for leather productions, yeah. Also, I guess in leather processing, we cannot be free from the chemistry aspect, ya, Bu Galuh. Very strong influence in terms of chemical processes. Bu Galuh already introduced to us step by step what kind of chemical apply in each processes, yeah. And interestingly, how to say, Bu Galuh also provide us great information how to handle one time, how to say, the remind the byproduct of the chemical that been used on the process, yeah, to be how to say, to be treated, yeah, to avoid any kind of environmental issues. And also I just learned from you, Bu Galuh, how to have the good knowledge to select a good leather, yeah, with the good quality, so we cannot be so worry to pay more for the leather products. Very interesting. I do believe all audience have already many questions to be discussed with Bu Galuh, but still we have a speaker, Bu Heli, that would be, I guess, deliver more detail in terms of biochemistry aspect, as Bu Galuh noticed in her lecture. So Bu Heli, without any further ado, time is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Bu Fitri. Okay, let me share my screen first. Okay, did you see my slide, Bu Fitri? Do you see my slide?
Yes, very excellent, Bu Heli. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Bu Fitri, for the time. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It is honor for me and also happy for me to have this kind of opportunity to meet all of you here, even meeting virtually using Zoom meeting. We are expecting this event can give all of us an insight and also can expand our horizon about the leather processing. Actually, just now, Bu Galuh has already explained more about the step by step of the leather processing, not only the process, but also Bu Galuh has shared us more about the chemistry perspective in behind the leather processing. At the end, she also let us know how to select the good leather, the good leather, and also knowing us many kind of leather-based product. What I'm concerned here is, as Google said, that leather industry getting growing and growing because this leather material is attractive material for especially for patient. However, some of the chemical used during this processing leave some chemical product which is hazardous for us. For example, like hexavalent chromium and then sulfate, which is can release the gas of sulfur dioxide in the to the environment. Here, I want to share another perspective for leather processing by using enzyme application. But just before we discuss about the utilization of or the perspective of enzyme utilization in leather processing, let us let us back to the term of enzyme first, just to remind all of us. Okay. Okay. Why enzyme become one of important one attractive material? Because some processing which is involving in enzyme claim could reduce the chemical hazard to the environment. So what an enzyme is, as has been said by Bugalu, that part of the important part of the ladder is a protein, and this protein can be considered to be the target to be the target for enzyme utilization in the ladder making processing. As we know that enzyme is mostly protein, but we all know that a few of the enzyme is also RNA, and uh, protein or RNA, which is produced by living cell, is called enzyme. And enzyme, also known as a macromolecule, which is built by amino acid, which is also established as biocatalyst. Why? This catalyst is very recognizable because unlike catalyst, enzyme can act specific to its substrate. If we talk about a chemical reaction, substrate will be similar to a reactant. So chemical reactant which is interact with enzyme called specifically as substrate. And then what is the most consideration to utilize enzyme as to be applied more in ladder processing? Here is some of the data that processing of the enzyme generally can be divided into three processing: pre-staining, staining, and post-staining. And this all processing has been reported to contribute almost 80 to 70% of the total pollution, which is low in the tannery industries. There is therefore another platform to mitigate this hazard caused by toxic agent like hexavalent chromium should be challenged, and enzymatic processing will be one of the alternative for processing this leather making. Okay, here is some process of the leather making. Okay, as has been described in detail by Bugalu, there are three kind of processing in the leather making process. This is pre-tanning, which is generally called as beam house processing, and then turning processing, and then the last is post-turning processing. Um, this at each stage, numerous chemicals are used at the variety ways that generate enormous hazardous chemicals. So our paradigm maybe to why we talk about enzyme utilization, because as I said just now that that enzyme will act specifically, and then it involved in the processing, but still we will get this enzyme at its originally structure without release any side product, any chemical side product. So here is the step that offering by the alternative enzymatic processing, which is which is shown by this slide. So from the input, all of the processing it is recommended to, or all of the step of the processing can be not totally replaced, but can be reduced to use chemicals by combining using enzyme for retaining the leather quality, but limited the waste to our environment. And say the potential usage of enzyme has been reported. As we seen here, that talking about leather will be related with the skin structure and also its composition. And today we know that we can differ between hide and also skin from its sources. Since the sources come from big animals, so we call it hide, and once it comes from the small animal, so we call it skin. But still, the most important part of the skin or hide structure is there is a massive massive material that construct by a protein that we call collagens, and this is the target that processing while the skin or hide uh, making and convert as a leather. Here is the structure of the normal skin, and this is the collagen. And then here we have also interfibrous uh, soluble protein, and then also we have hair, and all of these component, the mainly component will be can be treated by using enzymatic processing. For example, soaking in industrial scale will using salt and also other material. Actually, this soaking processing will will diminish the other material that we want to other material that we want to remove instead of the collagen in the leather. So and then here we use the protease and amylase and lipase addition to remove or to replace the using of chemicals. For example, as we know that a protease is an enzyme that can degrade the protein part by hydrolysis the peptide bond in the structure of the polypeptide, which is established for the protein structure, including the collagen and also keratin, and also the lipoprotein, which is available in the skin structure. And instead of a protein, of course, we have also another biomolecule material in the skin structure, which is called as a glycolipid, which is glycolipid is complex molecule which is formed by carbohydrate and also lipid, and using the amylase and also combined by lipase, we are expecting that this chemical or this structure can be degraded and then disrupt the compactness of the screen structure. So the keratin, which is which is which is uh, which is the main structure of the hair, can be removed from the skin structure that we want to be further processing as a leather leather material. And then the okay, wait a minute. And then the other processing is dehaling. Also here is using enzymatic processing. And today this enzymatically approach being tried to be applied also in the industrial scale. Still, the consideration of the enzyme still questioning, because as we know that enzyme really instable from the to the temperature, to the pH, and also to other factors that can degrade the enzyme itself. So the utilization of enzyme for the tanning production or for leather making production or processing still consider and still further studied. But we believe that this enzymatically approach give the I mean perspective, really worthy perspective, since it can minimize the environmental concern related to chemical waste releasing from the tanning processing. And here is the skin composition and structure involved in the leather tanneries, as has been described by Bugalu. Is tanning is the process for treating skins or hide from animal to produce leather. And this processing involved in the permanent alteration of the protein structure of the skin. For why this protein structure should be altered, because this protein alteration making it more durable and also less susceptible. And what the process before tanning the skin involving in the hair, degrease, dissolve, and also soften. And it is also described in detail that traditionally the processing using tanning. So it is why the process called tanning. Still, industrial scale, the utilization of the enzymatic still have to be further studied, because utilization of trivalent chromium solution still the best chemical to produce the good quality of the leather. Here is the collagen structure. As can be seen here, that collagen is the fibrous protein, which is consists of amino acid. Using the chromium, the peptide bond can make the bridge with the anion of with the chromium with the ion chromium, and then produce the complex chromium collagen structure. And some of the process is in the tannery processing is a soaking process. Here I will highlight the soaking processing aims to remove the leftover of salt from a curing process. And the soaking process also completed by the addition of biocide. And what is the function of biocide itself? Since the since the soaking process is produce the leather that ready for the tannery processing, it should be kept from the bacterial damage. What kind of chemical that can be used for this bacterial inhibition? One of the prospective general chemical that can be used is biocide. And how this biocide work to prevent the bacterial damage of the skin from the bacterial disruption. As it can be seen here that the membrane cell of the skin or hide structure has peptidoglycan cross-linking, which is synthesized to make skin structure itself, especially for peptidoglycan. Using the biocide, this peptide reaction can be inhibited. What kind of biocide? It can be used like by mimic the similar structure of the peptidoglycan. Mimic the structure of the enzyme which is involved in the peptidoglycan synthesis. So once the peptidoglycan cannot be formed, then the skin structure will be disrupted, and the biocide will inhibit the damage of the skin by inhibit the peptide reaction that form peptidoglycan cross-linking. And another processing which is involved in the leather processing is as also has been described by Bugalo. Another protein, keratin, which is consists in the hair of the skin structure, has the cysteine amino acid, which is this structure can easily to be disrupted by the softening agent. For example, sodium sulfide or cyanide can be used to break the disulfide bridge from the cysteine, and then breaking this hair structure make the removal of the hair and other keratinous material will be easier. And here is the enzyme involvement in the leather processing. The stage of the leather processing can be classified as curing, soaking, dehairing, degrazing, batting, tanning, and waste processing. And all the processing can be involving the enzyme enzyme. For example, in the soaking processing, we can use protease, and then for dehairing also we can use enzyme which can remove the keratinous and other in fibrous soluble protein from the skin structure. And the function of this enzyme as specified from each of the stages that use of this processing. For example, when we use the enzyme for soaking, so this enzyme can remove the fibrous protein as other chemical act to remove this protein from the skin structure. For example, sodium chloride, which is used in the soaking processing, not only not only can preserve the structure of the skin and hide structure, but also this salt can be also act as the solution for the some of the soluble protein. So some of the soluble protein can be easily dissolved in the salt solution. And then here is the comparison of the evaluation between enzymatically leather making by using the chemical agent and also enzymatically approach. For example, here is some physical evaluation, which is measuring by the tensile strength, elongation, tearing strength, also stitch tear strength. Here is the experimental detail, example of experimental detail, which is using a skin and then comparing the use of a chemical with enzymatic processing. Here, as can be seen here, that tensile strength results from enzymatic processing a bit higher compared to the lime sulfide dehairing. What is the tensile strength itself in the physical evaluation of the leather? Tensile strength is one of the important parameter in the leather, because this tensile strength show the ability of this leather to be keep unfractured when this leather is stretched or divided horizontally in a cross section. So this is the one of the parameter for the quality of the leather. Instead of the tensile strength, the elongation is also become another important parameter for the quality of the leather, since it is shown the ability of this leather to be elongate from its originally length. So if we compare the result of the chemical processing and the enzymatic adhering from the parameter for the leather quality, it is shown that the enzymatic adhering give the much more or a better quality of the physical appearance of the or physical properties of the leather product. So here is the example of this data support the attention of some of researchers in proposing the enzymatically approach in leather making processing, since the enzymatic also give or enhance the quality of the leather, and then give almost the improve the quality of the leather. And then other experimental using sheepskin also shown the similar tendency. For example, here that comparing of the processing both of the processing and then measuring the physical appearance of the leather that produced from the processing, it is shown that the tensile strength from enzymatic approaching give the higher tensile strength compared to the chemical processing using chemical processing. So it is suggesting and then also highlight that the enzymatically or utilization enzyme in the leather making processing also one of the prospective approach for overcome the concern of the environmental concern related the huge utilization of chemical during the leather making process using chemical based. And what are the benefits of using enzyme for leather processing? Here is the benefits of the using enzyme for leather processing. For example, in the soaking processing, the loosening of the scud and initiating of the fiber opening is much more better using enzymatic reaction compared to the chemical processing. And the leather product also less wrinkle when the leather processing is apply or employ the enzyme in the soaking process. And also why this leather product at the end is more or better than using a chemical, because this enzyme increase the yield of the area of the skin structure. So the region can easily to penetrate into the skin structure and then remove the unwanted or unwanted material instead the target material. For the hearing also, the enzymatic perform the beta benefits. For example, the recovery of a good quality hair and wool also can be also recovery of good quality hair and wool with highly commercial value also produced by the leather processing, which is using the enzymatically processing in the hearing process. And then the betting, the betting process using enzymatic reaction also can remove the non-leather forming proteinase material such as albumin, globulin, and also mucoid, which is available in the structure of the skin and hide. And what is the other benefits of using the enzyme in this betting processing? The enzyme also can enhance the penetration of the tanning material and other chemical material which is used in the betting processing. And other benefits it might be can seen in detail in the slide, as decreasing the result of the leather produce the more softened and also pliable leather. And this all of this result support the utilization of this approach in the future for leather production and without any concern with the environmental issues. And here is some example of the source of enzyme which can be used for leather processing. Here is an organism, for example, a bacillus, and bacillus is an organism that is available in abundance in our environmental. So the most easily bacteria that can be isolated for our environmental is bacillus. So this organism is a perspective to be explored more as a sources for providing the source of enzyme that is perspective to be further used for leather processing using the enzymatically approach. And then all of this organism source for the enzyme has been reported by some researcher, as can be seen here. And instead of bacteria, we have also source of the enzyme from the fungi. For example, aspergillus, and then Plavus, and conidobos coronatus is some of the example from fungi organism, which is prospective to be explored more as a source for providing the enzyme, which is can be further utilized for leather processing. Okay. Lastly, before I end of the presentation, one of the concern of the utilization of enzyme, as I said before, is the enzyme, as we know, that really unstable toward heat or and pH or other components such as metal ion and also some softening chemical which can be oxidator or reductor, and this limitation become the challenge in utilization the enzymatic processing in the leather making process. So currently immobilizing enzyme serve as a novel approach in providing the enzyme which has the better properties, and then much more stable with the heat and also alteration of the extreme pH, and this immobilized enzyme, one of the immobilized enzyme which is trapping in the nanoparticle called is nanozyme. Nanozyme. Why nanozyme, which represent the immobilized enzyme that entrap in the nanoparticle, provide the best or provide another alternative for overcome the limitation of the enzyme toward the heat or instability of the enzyme, because trapping the enzyme into the particle or reacting this enzyme or not bonding but linking the enzyme with the separate agent that can be form the covalent binding, actually can protect the enzyme itself from degradation and deactivation toward or by heat and also by other factor that can be degrade the enzyme itself. Another benefit of the immobilized enzyme is the immobilized enzyme also can be reused for many reactions. If we have a single enzyme when we have a single enzyme in the certain processing, so this enzyme as this enzyme will interact and then make the complex that couldn't be easily to be separate between the product and also the enzyme itself. For example, we want to produce the collagen as the core material of the leather. When we use enzyme in this processing, so it is not easily for us to separate this complex of the enzyme with the product. Therefore, another weakness is like we have to cost much more. We have to put much more cost to separate this enzyme with its product. But using the immobilized enzyme, we can reuse the enzyme in many reaction, and then in many in the many processing in the leather making process. Therefore, the immobilized enzyme serve to can reduce the cost for the problem of the price of the high cost of using enzyme, because it is claimed that the utilization of the enzyme in the leather processing will be expensive, since the isolation of the enzyme that is prospective to be used in the leather processing is need more process and need more technique. So it will be cost higher when using the enzymatic processing in the leather making processing. And another advantage using immobilized enzyme is, using this immobilized enzyme, we can get the uncontaminated product, because we can easily remove the nanozyme or immobilized enzyme from the solution, and then keep this enzyme for the further processing. This is why that immobilized enzyme, especially nanozyme, become the one of the attractive enzymatic approach in further utilization and the leather processing. Okay, that's all the short presentation from me in the from the enzymatic prospect approach for further or for the next leather making processing. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bu Heli, for providing additional information, I guess, to to complement the information that also delivered by Bu Galuh. So specifically, Bu Heli provide us very great informations, especially on the enzymatic applications, in every step of leather processing. So typically, she shared the informations about the role of each enzyme in each processes, as well as the function, the function of enzyme that been involved in each step of leather processing. Also, additionally, Bu Heli provide us the informations about the benefit, and also some innovations if we can replace the normal enzyme with the nano enzyme, in terms of technical as well as the cost aspect, in leather processing. So I guess we have very comprehensive and detailed lecture for today, and very strong in terms of chemistry view. But I guess everyone can follow, because both speaker very great in delivering the content. So now finally we come to the discussion session. And so far, we have received some questions from the audience. And for the one who still have questions, please kindly write down the question in the chat room, or even you can unmute, the microphone. So first, let we move to the first questions from the participant here. We have a question from Hazira from University Putra Malaysia. And her questions is, I guess, related to the content that delivered by Bu Galuh. So her question is, leather sometimes can contribute to industrial pollution. Is there any technology that can control the pollutions? Please, Bu Galuh.
Okay, so thank you for the question. As we know that from the slides on the waste coming from the leather industry, we know that actually the wastewater is one of the great concern because there's loading of some chemicals there. Well, actually, the others properties of the wastewater is quite typical. Like for example, the COD, the BOD, the suspended solid is something like typically found in any kinds of industry. So in this process, actually, there are some technology for the water treatment that has been introduced and has been proven to be effective. Well, we can use the physical technique, for example, the physical chemical treatment. The physical can be like adsorption, coagulations, and so on. And then for the physical chemical treatments, it is a combination between the physic and the chemical. So it can be combination of adsorption and coagulation and so on. For the biological treatment, there are also some reports saying that they're using the biological sludge method for the treatment. And this involve the treatment using some kind of bacteria to dissolve some of the contaminants from the wastewater. Okay, but the great concern actually come from the chromium, and the chromium, I think some of the reported publication has applied some methods such as the adsorption, because adsorption can be quite specific to the chromium ions, depending on the adsorbent that we use. So this is also one approach that can be applied. So yeah, in terms of the contaminants is quite general, except for the chromium that's regarded as the specific or the special contaminants from this industry.
So it's mean many alternatives technology can be applied, yeah?
Yeah, and you can
Mhm.
also find different approach by different industry. So yeah.
Yeah, correctly. Yeah. And then another question, Bugalo, come from Muhammad Zaki, also I guess from University Putra Malaysia. Hello, Dr. Galuh, correct me if I'm wrong. Based on my reading, not scientific sources, is it true? Is it true leather also can be produced by plant like cactus, or the leather called deserto leather? I just heard. Maybe Bugalo has the information related to this comment.
It's new information for me as well, Bu Fitri. I think I'm going to search for that specific cactus, deserto leather later, okay, but not now because I don't know. I don't really know about this information, so this is quite new. So yeah, Zaki, then probably I need to look further in the literature about this certain type of plant.
I can imagine, yeah, the cactus tree being used for leather and how to use it. But very interesting, yeah. Nathaniel give the information for us, Bugalo. It's called vegan leather.
Leather.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Nathaniel, for the information. And still related a question to Bugalo presentation. So, is there any alternative chemical substance that can replace the chromium use in tanning process?
Yeah, actually, I think I'm going to show a slide. Probably we can share just a little bit one slide. Yeah, I actually have this part of, actually it's not really shown in the presentation. There are actually some reported tanning agent that has been researched in many processes. Sorry, it takes a bit of time. Oh, where is it? Okay, so there's some other tanning process that has been researched currently is called the mineral tannage. The mineral tanning uses aluminium, zirconium, and titanium salt as the tanning agents. Okay, so but this is not widespread. Yeah, so it's not really commonly used, but it is actually researched in some tannery, and the product is called the white leather. Okay, so the product is actually called the wet blue leather, but the mineral tannage, it's called the white leather. Some industry employ this kind of method, but it is, I think it's not really widespread.
Yeah, so it's mean the alternative ones can be safer compared to chromium compound.
Yeah.
Okay.
It can be safer, yeah, because it's not resulted in the chromium waste, especially hexavalent chromium. That is a great concern. But we do have some metal complexes, so that means that there are some still some metal ions as the waste, but I think it's probably still treatable compared to chromium that has a very great concern.
Okay. And another questions. Since Bugalo mentioned that there are many several types, yeah, of raw materials that can be used for leather production from several type of animals. So, is there any main difference in terms of composition and properties? For example, leather from the sheep, from the cow or buffalo.
Well, I think the process is quite similar, but if we see the end products, it's actually quite different in terms of the complexity of the leather products. If we use, especially if we use the swine, the pig skin, actually there are a certain patterns of the skin that can be directly observable. Okay, so actually I learned about this information actually about 5 years ago when I was doing my PhD. Then actually there are some issues on the shoe leather, which is made of pig skin, and it's still some debate in the Muslim culture. So actually, I try to browse some of the literature about the typical types of the pig skin in the finished leather. So there's actually some 3 dots, and it is really signify the pig skin. So I think there are some different properties in terms of the finished leather as well as the characteristics of the raw materials can affect the finished leather quality. Yeah.
But in terms of the processing, almost similar, yeah?
Similar, yeah.
Okay, okay. And the next question, I guess, is relevant to both of you, Bu Galuh and Bu Heli. So Bu Heli also mentioned in detail about the mechanical properties of leather as well as Bu Galuh. So we know there are 2 types, soft leather and maybe a bit hard leather, yeah? So what's the meaning of the soft leather? It's mean that it can easily tear or other properties, yeah?
The
Soft leather. Yeah, soft and hard leather, yeah. We sometimes can easily find in many products. It's bit soft or even harder. So it corresponds to what kind of properties of the leather product?
Well, the softness of the leather is actually introduced to the leather products during the fat liquoring. So if you remember the stage called the fat liquoring, is actually the time when the process imparts softness to the leather. So I think it is really dependent on the end product that is required by the industry. The fat liquor can be different chemicals and can be a lot, can be a small amount, depending on how soft the skin, the end product you would want. But also it's related to the different layer. Actually, the split leather is soft. The split leather is soft, and do you know suede? Suede is kind of leather. Actually, it's very soft. This is the split leather. So the split leather actually has the soft characteristic. But grain or the upper layer, the top layer is actually a bit more compact because it has more skin quality than the fibrous one. So I think that also can means 2 things. It is required by the industry, so that's why they put lots of fat liquoring. But sometimes it's also referred to the side of the leather. So it can be split or the top layer. Yeah.
So in terms of composition, yeah, it can correspond, yeah, to different. Bu Heli, do you have any additional response?
Okay, thank you, Bu Fitri. Okay, thank you, Bu Galo, also for the detailed answer. Actually, talking about the leather, we have to talking about leather is talking about the skin structure, and then it is correctly true that the composition of the skin structure is really important. Really, I mean, really important or really influence the end of the product of the leather. And if you still remember the slide of the skin structure, there is the epidermal site in the skin structure, which is consists of lipid, and this epidermal lipid composition is different in between the animal skin or hide. Therefore, the end product of the leather a bit different. Even the whole of the processing employ the same process, but at the end it will produce the a bit different physical properties when we put different raw material of skin or hide. And then the another thing is related to the I forgot related with the um, lipid composition is also influence the softness of the leather and the hardness of the leather. Softness of the leather measured by the flexibility of this leather, whether the hard one is like a bit stretched and then like not really soft compared to the softened leather.
So strictly the chemical composition and structure remarkably determine, yeah,
Yes.
the mechanical properties of the leather products. Okay, and another question, I guess is how to say subjected to Heli. So on your final part of your presentation, you mentioned that nanoenzyme can be one of innovations, yeah, to treat the environmental issues related to the leather processing. So what type of the material that can be used for the supporting material to immobilize the enzyme?
Okay, actually there are many methods can be applied to produce the immobilized enzyme. So there is chemically based and also physically based. One of the technique for which is using the physical approach is using I forgot chitosan as an agent to entrap the enzyme, so it is keep in the pore of the chitosan, or maybe another is alginate also can be used. So another chemical processing is using the cross-linking agent. For example, the most utilization for the leather processing is formaldehyde because it is cheaper, but still the toxic issue become the concern of this chemical utilization as a cross-linking agent.
Okay, all right. And Bu Galuh, Bu Heli, we have also the comment from Nathaniel, our partner from UPM. So regarding to the cactus leather or to the plant leather, he said that the type of leather is actually quite popular in Western countries among those who are opposed to the animal product. Sometimes we have allergy, right, to use that one. But he said, I don't think it's really as durable or beautiful as animal leather anyway. Actually, Nathaniel, Bu Galuh recently very how to say intensively, yeah, put her time to to treat many plants at her home. Possibly maybe she can try, yeah, to develop the cactus at her home and try to research maybe, Bu Galuh. Yeah, any comment, Bu Galuh?
Thank you for the additional information, Nathaniel. Actually, it's a new information for me, and I think I'm going to be interested in looking about that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, the cactus leather, yeah, very, how to say, very interesting. Okay, is there any other question, dear participants? We still have around 2 to 3 minutes to continue this discussion session. or if you're still preparing the question, since actually we already passed from the time period for this meeting. Yeah, since this lecture is very attractive, very interesting. So don't worry, you can still deliver your question or even though the comment to our Google Classroom, and later on I will direct the question to our beloved speaker. Yeah, and before we close this session, as usual, we have the assignment, and we call participation from all IDN to be joined with this assignment. So, Bu Mita or Bu Amel? Okay, again, we provide the Kahoot quiz. Bu Galuh and Bu Yuli also can join. Yeah. For the game pin for today, yeah, is 2671595. Yeah, please join at www.kahoot.id. Yeah, you can also easily copy the game ID in our chat room. Yeah, to start this game. Okay. Okay, everyone. Please, we are looking for your participation here. Yeah, Bu Galuh and Bu Heli also provide their own email address. Yeah, so if you still have any inquiries or questions related to the letter science, yeah, or chemistry behind the letter processing, I guess both of speaker, yeah, would be very welcome to have your question. Okay, now already 20. Almost 20 participants. Oh, quickly, yeah. 21st. Okay. We are waiting until 30 participants to be joined with us. And just for your information, since we have the international participant, for our conveniences, the present for each quiz will be sent directly together. For example, if the winner from UPM, I will drop all present to UPM. So please later on kindly help us to distribute the present. Okay, still any other participant wanted to join this game? Okay, in such case, let we counting to start this game. Okay, 3, 2, 1, and start. And here is the following question. The first question: which country produce the most leather? In the beginning part, yeah, of Bu Galuh presentation, she described this very detailed. Don't make any mistake. Wow, not bad, yeah, Bu Galuh. Yeah, ABG jago. Who is ABG jago? ABG in bahasa Indonesia is anak baru gede. Yeah, I'm not sure this is Indonesian or international participant. The second question is removal of hair and place in pre-tanning processes called as liming. Yeah, the answer is liming. Oh, now Sinta, yeah, come to the first. And the third question, what is one of the enzyme, yeah, used during the degreasing process? All right. Wow. Surprisingly, Hazira, yeah, come to the first. Don't worry, still we have 3 questions left here. And here is the fourth question. Which of the following is not a benefit of using enzyme during soaking processes? Nice. Half of the participant, yeah, answer correctly. Oh, no, come, Sinta, again to the first place. Yeah, here is the 2 of last question. The following chemicals are used as a tanning agent. Yeah, exact. Be careful, exact. Except the calcium salt, yeah. Still Sinta there, and yeah, this is the final question. The following is a type dies used for leather, except. All right, and we close the game, and finally here we got the winner. Yeah, Aida in the third place, Aisha in the second place, and the first place is. Ba-ba-bum. Congratulations, and also congratulations to Pei and Nur Azikia, yeah, from Malaysia. Okay, thank you so much for your great, participation in our assignment. And dear all participants, so finally now we come to the, the end of this session. So before we close the class for today, I would like to invite Bu Galuh and Bu Heli to deliver the closing remark for us. So please, Bu Galuh, and then later on, Bu Heli.
Yeah, so I just want to extend the gratitude to all of you. I want to thank all of you for your participation in the class and your question and also discussions. Having so much fun with all of you, and I get new knowledge from you. And then I hope that we can meet again sometime in the future for another session of the summer class, maybe next summer, next year. But yeah, thank you so much.
Hopefully, ya Bu Galuh, ya, we have the new normal and we can directly meet again together. Bu Heli, please. Still mute, Bu Heli?
Okay, everyone, thank you and deeply appreciated for all of your kind attention and all of your participation in this event. And hopefully you will again, hopefully this event can inspire more and give another insight. So have a good thing with another event that create for the summer school with our department. See you in the other event that held by our department. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Bu Galuh. Thank you so much, Bu Heli. On behalf of the chemistry department, we would like to again gratefully thanks for your very excellent and great contribution to deliver the special topic here about the letter science. Yeah, this is the e-certificate as our appreciation for your excellent contribution to this program. So thank you, Bu Galuh, and thank you again, Bu Heli. Where is the certificate for Bu Heli? Oh, again, Bu Amel has the problem with the computer. Oh yeah, finally it's up here. Thank you so much. And before we close the session, as usual, I guess this is a great time for us. Don't forget to fill the attendance list. Yeah, the link already provided in the chat room, or if you can follow the information in our screen is also very welcome. And for tomorrow, we will move to another interesting topic, and also I'm not sure this is very typical from Indonesia, but we have there's something specialty about, do you know? Yeah, chemistry. Yeah, not chemistry. Chemistry in tea. That's the abbreviation that we create. The speaker is Bapak Dr. Insinyur Supriyadi Master of Science. He affiliated to University of Gajah Mada, and he will share with us many information, especially about the processing, the benefit, and maybe he will introduce many type of tea, yeah, in that available in our country. So everyone, don't forget to join us again tomorrow. And before we close, could you please kindly open your video? We will take the picture together with our beloved speaker. So please share with us your great smile and your great pose. Yeah, it will be memorable, I guess. And always I remind all of you, all how to say activity already recorded, and we post, yeah, gradually in our how to say department website. So if you miss the moment in each topic, please kindly follow our how to say use YouTube channel as well as our website, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Yeah. Okay, let me start the post. Do you have any suggestion for the post? Ah, Bugalo, very nice. Sarange. Okay, everyone, where is your love? Where is your sarange? 1, 2, 3. Okay, nice. Next, another slide. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. And maybe the closing one. Letter. Letter. Okay, your great smile, please. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So everyone, wish you have a great day and also great health. Don't forget to come back tomorrow. We always looking forward to see you. Yeah. Bu Galuh, Bu Heli, thank you so much. Let me close this session. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.